beautiful souls, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about giving you the tangible steps and also helping you understand how to live an enriched life, and just to help you tap into that potential to be able to live this fun, passionate, purposeful life that we have come here to do in this earth. So if you're new to my channel, my name is Regina. I help immigrants, first-gen people tap into their light, tap into their inner purpose to help them live a thriving life abroad. And if you are not an immigrant, or if you are someone who does not identify as a first-gen, that's okay. This video is still going to be able to help you tap into your passionate life or passionate part of yourself to be able to cultivate that joy, that upbringing. And I want you to take you back to a time when I moved to the US and I was 19. I was first out of high school and I didn't know what the Western world, what living in the US actually entailed. I had done my research, but I moved to the deep south. I lived in Mississippi and Texas for a period of 3 years, and during that time I shed a lot of my old identity, a lot of the old beliefs that were keeping me in a box, and I was still operating from a survival mindset, I would say. So I think what I have seen from coaching other immigrants and first gens in this space is how we all tend to operate from this survival mindset, right? And sometimes I used to do this. I used to blame my parents, or I used to blame the society. But to be honest, yes, your society and your parents play a huge role in shaping your values and molding you into who you are now. But you can change your life. You can change your values, you can change your beliefs in any point and any time in your life. And I think that was the hard realization for me. I can still become my parents' daughter while continuing to build my life, while continuing to nourish and flourish into this beautiful woman that I'm becoming without attaching myself to them. And a lot of the times we force ourselves and shove ourselves into the society's expectation of what we should do. When I first moved here, I had this thought that I was an accounting major back then, so yes, I will get an accounting degree, I will get a 9-to-5. I would only be focused on that path, and I would not have any avenues to explore, to tap into my other passions that I had back then, because growing up I always wanted to be someone who was creative. And when I switched my major to international business, I had this desire to learn languages and be an all-rounder so that I can tap into different parts of myself, and also to learn how the world actually works. And I think gradually along the journey I had to rewrite my narrative, my story, beliefs that I would tell myself, and also realizing what makes you you. And you might be a part of a lineage where culture might be a huge thing. I come from an indigenous group in Nepal, and I didn't feel the need to learn the indigenous language apart from the national language. And when I moved here, I tried so hard to assimilate into the Western culture that I rejected parts of my culture, and now I'm tapping back into my roots, to say. And it's really interesting because my dad always told me, don't forget where you come from. And back then I didn't know what he meant by that phrase, but that's something that still sticks out to me. And I try to practice the language, and I try to read books in my native language. I try to be part of communities where we come together to share, our shared love for Nepalese food, traditions, and keep on continuing them instead of forgetting them. So I think that's also one of the most important things, identity. What makes you you? Aside from all the bullshit that the culture or society has tried to shove it into you, values, culture, beliefs, morals that you uphold for yourself, that makes your tree stronger, what keeps you grounded at times where there's no one around you. The second thing was releasing guilt and also cultural expectations. I think one of the most important things that I'm still learning is to acknowledge that the guilt and shame will always be there, but also moving past them, right? I know a lot of the people have heard this multiple times. Whenever you are listening to a motivational video, listening to someone who's like really wise, they always say fear will always be there. If you want to start a business, start making content, if you want to date someone who you would normally not date, there will always be fear that will pop up and creep up, right? But how you choose to move past that fear on the other side is what matters and what makes or breaks your life in general. So that's the same thing I think for guilt and shame too. When I went to visit my partner's family in Germany a couple months ago, I had this guilt even because my mom has never been able to travel outside the country, or even she has never traveled outside the city where we were born and raised. So whenever I went somewhere, there was this guilt, but also I tried to reframe it. I am seeing this new place, this new country, from the lens of my mom, who has never been able to travel. So trying to reframe those limiting beliefs and doubts that pop up, I think is really important. And also realizing that it's not yours to hold, right? I am a huge healing justice practitioner and a lot of groups where I soak in the wisdom from different wise teachers and leaders. This is sometimes we are walking and breathing testament of our ancestors. We are here because of our ancestors' work, and a lot of the times there's this notion that, oh, I have ancestral generational trauma, but your ancestors have passed their skills, their talents, their gifts onto you too. So just thinking about how you can continue their legacy without carrying their expectations and burden, but also realizing if something pops up and creeps up when you're doing and going about it day to day, just realizing, oh, that limiting belief mine? Is this fear really mine? Or this was something that was told to me or shoved down my brain from someone in my lineage, and that's not mine to carry. So I think just releasing those guilt, shame, cultural expectations. And it goes back to the first point. What makes your inner temple? How do you align the pieces of the bricks in your inner temple, inner house, to be able to say and distinguish this limiting belief is mine and this limiting belief is not mine? I think snapping also helps. This is one of the practices that I learned from one of the somatic practitioners that I follow. So whenever you have a limiting belief or limiting doubt pop up, and you're like way too stuck in this headspace, then tapping, shaking yourself off, changing the physical space. So let's say you're working at a desk and you're like hunched up, crouched up, and you feel yourself feeling all this overwhelm, comparison, anxiety popping up. Just letting it go and moving to another space like the kitchen, living room, or just taking a walk and shaking it out. I think that really helps too. And the third tangible step is creating your own sense of belonging. What are the list of activities and things that you do in your free time that make you feel connected to yourself? When I was living in survival mode, and when I was working multiple jobs, I didn't have time to focus on myself. I didn't know what I liked and what I didn't like. So that's why when I first started dating men, I would go by their plans, their decisions, because I didn't have a solid idea of what fun was supposed to look like and what not fun was supposed to look like, because I hadn't done the work in myself and I didn't prioritize myself to know my likes and dislikes, which is kind of funny, but also you live and you learn. And I never used to do that when I was living back home too. I think I was also back then study, get good grades, be a good daughter, help your mom in all these household stuff, and just become so quiet and become so reserved that I wasn't able to see the world past my bubble. And I think when I first started tapping into my joy, and I leaned into, I used to dance growing up with my friends, but I had forgotten that part of it. Just working multiple jobs and operating in survival mindset, you don't see that. You don't get to see the world from this place of joy and fulfillment when you're living in a victim mindset. And I think once I said enough is enough and I pulled myself back from those trenches, then I was able to do things that created my sense of belonging. And it's a constant process, I would say. It's not a once and done journey, but along the way I would read books, I would do things to figure out if I like that or not. Let's say I tried dancing, but I tried hooping because I really like this idea of flowing and healing and being in somatics, being in tune with your body. I tried yoga, Pilates, coloring, camping, hiking, mountain climbing, all those things that tap you back into this world. The collective consciousness, I think that's what creates your sense of belonging. This idea of finding security, feeling home at yourself. A lot of the times when a person moves abroad or when someone leaves their comfort in a city and moves to a new place, they try to build home and they try to find parts of home in the new place, and that's not necessarily bad. Home is where the heart is. But also I used to be so stuck up on this process of where's my home? Will I ever be able to live in this so-and-so place forever? These ideas would creep up, but how do you create a sense of belonging within yourself so that you don't need to constantly outsource this idea of home to a physical location? And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, it's just something that I want you to journal upon, right? And for myself, I found that keeping myself rooted, going back to the things that make myself me, working on things that people can't take away from you, mindset, your daily routine, your attitude, your personality, your inner workings, what makes your inner temple you, I think that is really important. Also, just thinking about ways how you can create your sense of belonging is also important. And then the last thing that I want to say is, if you're into affirmations and really tapping into this idea of feeling that affirmation. And when I first started the personal writing, I used to script all the time, but I didn't know that you had to feel those emotions, right? I was doing that work in the surface level. I wasn't thinking beyond the surface level, and no wonder there were some times where I would be so mad and frustrated because I would be writing, I would be scripting, yes I'm wealthy, yes I'm healthy, but that was all surface level. And I think gradually, and with the help of my mentors and spiritual leaders, and with the organizing and advocacy work that I do, I think I've learned so much about being in tune with your body, feeling those emotions, and the idea that manifestation starts from within is so true, because once you start aligning the puzzle pieces in your internal reality, then the external reality will align in accordance with that. And sometimes you have to reverse engineer your mind, right? But you want a wonderful house and a plot of land with cows, with chicken. What is that feeling? Like, as I'm telling myself this, I'm feeling abundant, I'm feeling like, wow, you get to grow your own food. That feeling, you have to channel it into your daily life. And that's how you will start attracting people, places, opportunities that will take you to that house, to that large plot of land, to the people who will get you what you want. So I think this idea is really key, in this concept of rewiring your inner pieces to get to the desired outcome, which also ties back to Neville Goddard's reading. I'll link it in the description below. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope these tangible steps will help you to tap into your inner joy and also help you get out of that survival mindset and truly live from a place of where you don't have to operate from that survival mindset, and you're thriving, you're doing the work, you're pouring onto yourself, and you can pour back to others, because I really believe in this idea of collective liberation. And with you doing the work, you're helping other people do the same. And also butterfly effect, right? When you flap your wings, when you learn to flap your wings, then collectively other butterflies, or you're making an impact, you're creating a change. Let me know if you need any help, support. Let me know if you need any help. I do have spots for alignment audits, and I will link everything. And I will link everything down. Thank you so much for receiving this wisdom and for pressing play on this video. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.